Now, I thought I'd hate the monk class in Path of Exile 2, but it's actually probably one of my favourites. It's a lot of fun. So this is my Act 3 I should say. Mid-game, I guess you'd call it, because of crawl mode. But this is my monk build, so we're going to go over everything. We're going to go over all the items, the passive tree, all that fun stuff. So let's jump straight in, and we'll start with our passive tree. Now, as you'll know, we are getting our Ancestry by this point. And I'm going to go with this first, because to be honest, this build works whether you choose this one or not. I just think this one works better. Now for this one, I did pick the Evoker, and I went to the south first. So critical chance of 12%, and to sunder my enemies. Critical hits ignore non-negative enemy monsters' elemental resistances, which is just amazing. Eventually we're going to round this off to get and scatter them to the winds. This will give you elemental expression, and if we check that out, creates a fiery explosion, an arcing bolt of lightning, or an icy wave of projectiles. The chance for an explosion is proportional to your strength. So bear that in mind, as you can see, my strength is pretty high. In fact, overall, I think my stats are pretty high and balanced. So not too bad. Now to start this build, we are going to go to Evasion and Energy Shield, and we're going to follow this up. Get the +8 to Evasion rating, +5 maximum Energy Shield. Why do we want Evasion? Evasion essentially means if your Evasion is higher than the enemy's strikes, also the enemy's accuracy, you have more chance to miss their attacks, bolstering your defenses. You might not have the armor, you might not have the Energy Shield, but what you can do is just stand there and dodge attacks. And we're going to follow this up and take it here. Now at this point you have two branching paths, mana regen or more evasion and energy shield, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to take these first two and then we're going to take our 12% increases, so 24% overall. And this leads to Step to the Mist. 4% increased movement speed, 15% increased mana regeneration, +5 to Dex and Intelligence. And again, loads of branching paths here, in fact there's 5 of them. We're going to take the most top one, or northern, whatever you want to call it, which is Evasion and Energy Shield, another 12%, into Mindful Awareness. 24% increased evasion rating and 24% increased maximum energy shield. And then we are going to loop around. 12% increased evasion and energy shield down to Flow Like Water. 8% increased attack speed and cast speed, again another +5 to Dex and Intelligence. And again, much like most of the monk, more branching paths. So what do we want to do here? We're going to go south. 10% increased attack damage and another 10% increase to attack damage to boost our DPS. And then from here, again, we're going to take the most left-hand side one, which is going to be Shock Chance. Get that 15% increased Shock Chance, take it to Essence of the Storm, gain 5% of damage as extra lightning damage, 30% increased chance to shock. We're going to take the 15% Shock Chance, and that brings us to the middle of all our branching paths. Now, much like all of my builds, I will say this now, these little ones here where you get to pick your attributes, +5 to any, you want to pick these based on what your gear is. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you have gear that gives you +30 to strength overall, you're not going to want to use these for strength probably. If you have gear that gives you +20 to intelligence and +30 to strength, you're going to really want to focus on your dex. So these stats all along here, you're going to want to pick and choose these as you're going through the game, and you're going to want to change them depending on what your gear is. And don't forget you can respec, go to the hooded one, and you can change these as and when. So for example, if you were to put this into strength and intelligence, so that's +5 to intelligence, +5 strength, and then you immediately find an item or a ring that gives you +5 to strength and +5 to intelligence, you might want to respec and put these into Dex or Sonic. So just bear that in mind. Now first thing we're going to do from this node here, as we do our little loop-de-loop, is we're going to come up for critical damage. So 15% increased critical damage, and to the right hand side first, for the extra 15% critical damage, to Moment of Truth. 25% increased critical damage bonus if you've dealt a non-critical hit recently, and a 20% increased critical chance, and then round out the little diamond with a 10% critical hit chance. Now following our little loop up, we're going to get to here, and we're going to stop when we get to this little node here with the 2 diamonds either side, and then come to the right. 10% increased attack damage, we're going to go north for another 10% increased attack damage, and then south for Killer Instinct. 30% increased attack damage when on full life, 50% increased attack damage when on low life. Now after this, come back to the beginning of your diamond, and we go south, 3% increased attack speed, and north for tenfold attacks. 4% increased attack speed, 6% increased attack speed if you've been hit recently, plus 10 to strength. Amazing. After this, we're going to keep following our little pathway up here until we get to our strength here. And we're going to go here. 10% physical increased damage, Another 10% physical damage as you come down into the middle for Stylebender. Break 30% increased armor on enemies affected by ailments, so that can be shocked. Plus 10 to strength, 25% increased physical damage. And then we're just going to take the next little node here on the left for another 10% increase to physical damage. Again, following the node all the way up, we're going to get to our jewel slot. And for your jewels, you're kind of going to want to put something in here that's going to boost your attack speed, your physical damage, your lightning damage, your shocked, something like that. Maybe even your accuracy. For me, I've just put any jewel in here just to show off you can get benefits from this. This honestly isn't really a good jewel for this. I think I found a better one now as I was doing my witch playthrough. But these jewels can really buff up your team. Once you've got your jewel, eventually you are going to want to come down to your quarterstaff speed. However, I would first make my way down back to here. So this is the middle point between your Killer Instinct and your Stylebender. And we're going to take our stats and we're going to follow this little loop around here until you get to your second jewel slot. Now this jewel is much better. 13% increased elemental damage, 11% increased melee damage, 6% increased bleeding duration, 24% increased style weapons swap speed. The last two stats, not really amazing. It's the first two that make this a good jewel. And from here, we can come up and we're going to take 10% physical damage. We're going to take the 5% increased critical hit chance and 8% increased physical damage. Follow that up again for another one of those, and then into the middle for Staggering Palm. 20% increased critical damage bonus, 20% increased knockback distance, 20% increased physical damage. Once you've done that, come back to your jewel slot. We're going to go south and pick up these two attributes. And then we're going to come to the bottom right for damage versus full life. 20% increased damage with hits against enemies that are on full life. We're going to pick up that same node again until we get to First Approach. 50% increased critical hit chance against enemies on full life. Cannot be blinded while on full life. 80% increased damage with hits against enemies that are on full life. An amazing way that when you get into a mob or a boss, your first hits are going to be huge. Now as we come all the way back up to your jewel that you picked up here, we're going to take the first attribute, the second attribute, the third attribute, and then the fourth attribute. This will bring you to your quarterstaff here. Now once you get to your quarterstaff nodes, we're going to pick up the first one, which is the 3% increase to attack speed with quarterstaffs, and you come south. 3% increased attack speed, because again, more attack speed, more DPS. It might not make sense to you, you might think you need to boost your damage, but the quicker you hit, the quicker damage you're going to do a second. It's just logic. And then south again, Martial Artistry. 25% increased accuracy rating with quarterstaffs, 25% increased critical damage bonus with quarterstaffs, plus 25 to dex is crazy. We come back to the middle, going up for another 3% increased attack speed to get Whirling Assault. 8% increased attack speed with quarterstaffs, knocks back enemies if you get hit, knocks back enemies if you get hit with a critical hit with a quarterstaff. To the right hand side path, 20% increased knockback distance, 20% increased stun build up. Again, get the same node. To the top one with the River, 30% increased defenses while wielding a staff, 30% increased daze build up, freeze build up, and stun build up with quarterstaffs. So lots of good things here. Now going forward, where would I take the build? More physical damage and more lightning. I would probably pick up the critical damages here, and I'd also come down here and I'd pick up the lightning, because you can really boost your lightning damage with this build, but a lot of what we're focused on is just pure physical damage, because that's really what we want. You could even, if you wanted to, pick up the energy shield and recover life on hits and things like that. Especially this one, Immortal Infamy, plus 10 to intelligence. A lot of these stats, if you can get a node that also gives you a stat increase, it means you can really rearrange your equipment, and if you're holding onto something that gives you enough intelligence to do your spells or to use other items, it can really free up some of your equipment. Now talking of equipment, when it comes to it, what are we using? Well, I like to focus on 3 to 4 main attributes that I like to have on my items to really be able to use them properly. In this case, it's going to be anything for DPS, so elemental damage, lightning damage, physical attack, that sort of stuff. Evasion and energy rating, life regen, and accuracy. Now you might be wondering why accuracy? Well, better accuracy, the less chance you'll hit, or less chance you'll miss enemies if they have a higher evasion. So let's go over our skills. First one is our quarterstaff. You'll see it's a plus 8 quality. We have physical damage, we also have lightning and fire. 3 runes on it. You might be wondering how I got 3 runes? Well, it's corrupted. If you haven't fully played Act 3 yet, I will not ruin how you get that, because I don't want to give any spoilers, but I put this on to this item and it gave me a third rune slot, which means 20% increased physical damage, adds 1 to 2 lightning damage, and gain 20 life per enemy killed. Bigger damage, bigger elemental damage, and life regen. Perfect. Get plus 10 block chance, adds 11 to 22 physical damage, adds 10 to 18 fire damage, 38% increased elemental damage with attacks, and 1.4% extra to critical hit chance. For a ring, not the best of rings to be honest, I do want to change this up, I haven't really found anything better yet, but 6% increased lightning damage, plus 46 accuracy, plus 12 to mana, and 3 life regen. For armor, again, double runes, plus 25 to maximum life, and 20% increased armor evasion energy shield, plus 7 quality overall to really boost it up, but plus 5 to evasion rating, plus 4 to maximum energy shield, 40% increased evasion energy shield, plus 31 to maximum life, plus 23 to intelligence, and a 2.5 life regen. For a helmet, again, working on that quality to build that up, 46% armor, plus 161 to accuracy rating, plus 22 maximum life, got more maximum mana, and a 13% increased critical hit chance. For an amulet, plus 12 to intelligence, plus 23 accuracy rating, plus 23 maximum energy shield, 17 maximum mana, plus 13 strength, and then 33% increase in mana regeneration and a 3.2 life regen per second. For your next ring, I actually really like this one, grants 1 additional skill slot, 17% increase to fire damage, works well with our staff, plus 22 to evasion rating, plus 16 maximum mana, and plus 19 to strength. For boots, again, put that ring on, really boosting our life regen. 20% increased movement speed is amazing, 6% increased armor and energy shield, plus 28 maximum life, plus 17 intelligence, and we reduce the chill on us. For a belt, 22% increased charm charge, plus 58 maximum life, plus 24% cold resistance, 8.4 life regen per second. So we're looking at about 15 life regen a second, I think. I'll double check in the character stat view. And then gloves. Again, another rune, 25% maximum life, plus 80 to maximum life, 15% reduced attribute requirements, plus 10 to dex, and 13 life per enemy killed, which means every time we kill an enemy, we get 20 from this, and 13 from this. That's 35 almost every kill. If we come into our character, let's just see what we have. So we have 1000 life, 320 energy shield, got 60 spirit, which is always really nice, 41% evasion, 10% block, 34% armor. You'll see our resistances here, not amazing personally, but overall not too bad. And as you can see, their life recovery per second from regeneration, 20.1. Now if we look at our skills, you'll see we've got a bunch of really cool things here, so let's go over them. And your first one is obviously the quarterstaff strike. Now if we manage our sockets as well, martial tempo, 25% more attack speed. Again, more attack speed, more DPS, and you see we're pulling off almost 2000 DPS a hit. Close combat, so 25% more attack damage to enemies within 1 meter of you. And practiced combo, 40% chance to build an additional combo on hit. After that we have Falling Thunder, one of my favourite skills in the game. Lightning Infusion, 25% of damage as extra lightning damage but less cold and fire. Innovate, gain 35% of damage as lightning damage for 3 seconds on killing a shocked enemy. And Overpower, more stun build up. After that we have Elemental Invocation, so while this is active, the energy you gain when you free shock or ignite an enemy, the energy is gathered and you can consume it to socket spells, trigger them, and it's just a huge buff you can get. For this one I've put impetus on it, support skills gain 40% increased energy, and we will be dealing a lot of shock. Now I have Contagion, I use this a lot for Act 1 and 2, Act 3 nowhere near as much, so this would be something I get rid of going into crawl mode. But for this one I did put Magnified Effect for more accurate effect, and Persistence for more skill effect duration. After that, Tempest Spell, one of my favourite spells, or sorry, one of my favourite skills I should say in the game. Throw this spell down and you smack it and it's like an AoE. If you smack this with fire, lightning or ice, the bell itself, when you hit it again, will actually give off those shockwaves. So hit it with your lightning and you'll start hitting lightning shockwave, and it's a lot of fun. For this one I've put Ruthless, so every 5th use of support skill causes 500% more stun build up. And with how quickly we now attack with our staff, this hits really quick. And Overabundance, +1 to limit, 50% less skill duration. After that I've got Ghost Dance, again something else I'm going to be getting rid of going into crawl mode. Vaulting Impact, something else I'll be getting rid of going into it. Charge Staff. Now this will consume all your power charges, and this one I need to buff up a little bit more. It's kind of here ready to be used, but I've not used it at all in Act 3. What I have used is Shockwave. Sweep your quarterstaff projecting a bolt of lightning through the ground. Amazing. And then I have Conduction, 100% more chance to shock. Herald of Thunder. I think this is a must-have for any spirit you use. This is phenomenal. Killing shocked enemies with attack damage causes substance attacks to release lightning bolts, attacking other enemies around them. With how quickly you build up shocked, it's 100% worth it. We can couple this with blind, so 100% chance to blind enemies on hit. And then finally, Whirling Assault. So let's go find some combat, and I'll show you this off. You can see how fast we're moving here, and what we're going to do is we are going to just run through this act here. Now this is Act 1 again, but we're in crawl mode. I'll see if I can show you that. You can see we're level 48, so hopefully it's very obvious we're in crawl mode. And hopefully the enemies themselves that appear will show you that too. But, here we go, let's start doing it. And you can see how quickly we're attacking, and how we're able to just stand in the pocket and attack. But, again, we have other spells we can use as I get closer. And here you go, the nice lightning ones. And you can see, if you check out our life, you see how easy it is for us to regain life every time we kill an enemy. So you can really keep your attacks going, keep your damage up, and it's just a lot of fun. We can hit our lovely lightning like that, and this works on all these enemies here as well. So you can really start building up your stun before you even get to them, getting close, and then start finishing them off like this. Ooh, a nice little crackling, cool stuff. And you see, we even build up the stun quick. And of course, as I said before, we have our lightning bell. So if I put this down, I need to build up my combo quick. There we go, get our bell down. And you can see it's now lightning infused, so the shockwaves it gives off are lightning based, and it helps build that stun up even quicker. And that is the gist of this build. You just hit really hard. Got some lovely lightning spells you can use. Again, if you wanted to use Contagion, you could. I personally wouldn't recommend it. But we're just throwing that lightning damage, building up our shocked, attacking hard and fast, and just dealing some crazy DPS. Okay, and that was the build. I really hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please drop the episode a like, it helps me tremendously. Let me know in the comments what other things you would look at, what other stats, where else you take the build on this passive tree, all that fun stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for more. I've got other build guides for Path of Exile, I've got build guides for Dragon Age the Veilguard, Baldur's Gate 3, all sorts. Hopefully, I hope you really have enjoyed, and if you have, hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.